Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? We're good to be back. We're back again for day 9 million.36. I think that's where we're at now. Um, it could be a different number, but that's what I'm going with. We're in day 68,042,800 or something. Oh no, it says day 21. Okay, we're day 21. Okay, that's fine. We could do that instead of the other one. It is good to see you. It has been a long day in the courtroom today. Some days are very long, some days go quickly, depending on who is the witness or what we're talking about. And today was a lot of cross examination of Eppingstall, and he is the informant. So we explained that last night. He is the head honcho. He is the head honcho of the homicide squad for this investigation, and he basically calls all the shots. That's his job. He tells people to go here, they go there, they do a search warrant, they search for things. That's sort of what he does. Um, but so we heard some information on today from him. And so I'll start off with that in a second. And that is Miss Warren. So Miss Warren is on the prosecution side of the bar, and she is the one asking questions today. So we'll do that. And so I'll give you a rundown of what happened today. So we got into court. There's all this type of legal things that happen often in court cases. That tends to happen regularly near the end, and so we got underway a little late today, about 10 past 11, something like that. It was a little later than we sometimes do. Sometimes we get underway at like 10:30 like that, and there's a witness, and we go, and we get about a good 2.5 hours before lunch. Not so today. Today we sort of got out of the gates a little slowly. So the majority of today was actually Eppingstall. Um, we heard from the prosecution side. They ran through all their questions for him, and then we started to hear the cross exam of him later in the day. So he was basically our only person today, just one person all day, different sides of the bar, and we did hear some details. So I'll go through them in a minute. I want to say hello to everyone. Hey, Texas, how are you? By the way, Pain or Chocolate, I appreciate the donation that came in before the show. Thank you very much. That is very kind of you. Robert's here. Hey, Robert. Julie's here. Sean's saying hello to Robert too, saying hello to other people. Lynn D's here. Julie's here. Woman of Steel. Hey, my friend. Good to see you. Who else? I don't know who else. Betty C. Hey, Betty C. Betty C. Thank you very much for your donation. Was it earlier today or just before? Oh, it was a couple of hours ago. Betty says it feels like you have to be exhausted. We're getting to the sort of everything hurts part of the trial. And after 21 days of sitting in the courtroom, I tell you, it sort of feels that way. But the part that keeps me going is that we're almost there. We're not too far away now. I don't exactly know how long, but it can't be too much longer because we've been in the courtroom for 5 weeks. It's supposed to only go for maximum of like around 6. So we're getting there. We're sort of we're running the marathon, and somewhere in the distance we can see the finish line, and someone is holding a Gatorade. Someone is. Who is that? I don't know, but they are holding one, and we will get to the Gatorade eventually. So that's sort of how it's been. Hey, Tamara, good to see you. Good to see everyone. Hey, Lee, good to have you here. Texas, my friend, is here too. Who else is up here? Chipmunk made it. Betty C, thank you for that donation. It's very kind. Who else are we? Elaine was here. Hey, Elaine. Good to see you out over in the UK. Who else? I think that's about it. By the way, from tomorrow there will be a slight change to the live show. So we've had this camera this is our third camera, second camera. We've changed cameras a couple of times, and we've sort of used this brand for since I started because it was not super expensive and it produced a decent quality image. But it's been having some it's been having some gremlins. Same with the microphone. The microphone's been having this weird issue that when I plug it in, it now thinks that there's more than one microphone plugged in, and it starts having conflicts with each other. So I have to go in and delete them all and then reload it to be able to make it work. It's bizarre. I've never had that problem, and I've had this microphone. This is the second one we've had, and about a year and a half. And now all of a sudden it's spitting chips at everyone. I don't know why. But we are getting a new camera. It should be delivered tomorrow. I got it. I ordered it from Amazon, so we should get it. Yeah, I'm trying to open up the image for everyone. So it's one of these guys, a little OBS bot camera. I think it was, I can't remember how much it was, but this one's supposed to have like good quality picture, and it's supposed to have a better sensor than this one, and so the quality of the live stream will get a lot better. So that's what I'm trying to say. Yes, we'll have a new camera from tomorrow, so that'll be good. Good news. We'll get rid of this old one, and then we'll get something better that's a little higher quality. This one I think does a maximum of only like 720p or something. It's not high, not super high resolution. Chipmunk said, I said a prayer for you for good rest. I did sleep all right last night. I think it's just being that it is winter down here, the cold weather is just really a pain in the bum. It's just, you get up and you're like, do I have to get up? It's so cold. I just want to stay in bed all day. And then I'm like, no, we got to go to the courthouse. Come on, we got to get up. And then I'm like, there's only so many days left. Come on, you'll regret it if you're not there. And that's what I keep telling myself. This is only going to happen once. Kind of like a wedding, what you tell people when they have a wedding. You're like, it only happens once until you get divorced, and then you do it again. But doesn't matter. This one only happens one time. And that's what I'm telling myself about the trial. I'm saying it's only going to happen one time, we think, anyway. Lee says the trial might end up being as long as the Diddy trial. I don't think it's going to be that long. I think we're not far off. I don't have anything to base that on. No one has told me anything, so I don't think I'm giving you inside information. I just have a feeling that we're not too far away. Is that before the end of the week? Will we be in verdict watch? Could be. Could it be very early next week? Possibly. I don't know, but it just feels sort of that way with some of the, the progress and the witnesses and things like that. I am looking forward to getting back to my old life for a little bit, and then we're going to go to another trial, but just for a couple of weeks. I'd like to be at my house for more than about 5 hours, so that'd be good. All right, let's get started. We got so much to get through, and I've been talking for like 10 minutes. All right, let's talk about what happened this morning. Okay, so very early on in our let me get rid of that. Very early on in the Epping stall continuation this morning, there was an I can't use that word. There was something with no description that was brought up, and I'm going to tell you what that is. It actually has a description, but I can't use the emphasizer that I want to use because we're not supposed to. So I'm just going to word it like this. It is Erin Patterson's Woolworth transaction history from the 23rd of July to the 28th of July. And so they asked Epping Stall in front of the entire courtroom, in front of the jury, many people of the community were there, and they asked him, can you explain to everyone what is a Woolworths reward card? That is a real question. That is a question that came out in court today. And he had to stand up and tell everyone what is a Woolworths reward card, and I'm going to give you his answer here. Hold on. Da, 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 da. Oh, do I not have it? That sucks. I thought I wrote the quote down, but maybe I don't have it. He basically just explained that he's like, "Oh, it's a membership card, and you scan it. It relies on you having to scan it." And he's trying to explain to everyone when you buy items from Woolworths, you accumulate points, and that's what he was telling the jury in the courtroom today. And yeah, I thought I had the quote. Hold on. Let me go back up here. No, I must not. I'm not sure why. Let me go back a little further. Yeah. So they asked me about that. Hmm. Oh yeah, okay, I do have it. Okay, so shh, Ping, don't laugh. They said, could you just tell the jury what is a Woolworths rewards and does it lead to a record of transactions? So that was the question that Miss Warren asked him, and this was his reply to that question. Yeah. So the Woolworths reward is a card that you use every time you go shopping. You scan it and accrue points depending on your purchases. It tracks what you are buying, so it can give you promotions to you, or sometimes certain items are worth more points and the like. So it keeps a record and it wholly depends on you scanning on, but it logs everything you've done. And by the end of the year, you've accrued X amount of points, which equate to X amount of dollars. And so, therefore, you can buy stuff. That was his explanation to everyone of what a Woolworths rewards card is. I'll explain it like this. Woolworths is a supermarket down here. A Woolworths reward card is basically just a loyalty card program that you probably have in America or other places. And when you shop, you're supposed to scan it at the register, and it either reduces the price. So there's two programs in Woolworths in Australia. One is in Woolworths, so they have one called like member price, where if you scan the card, you get it for a cheaper price. There's another one, which was the original part of it, where you scan it and you just get points for every dollar. Sometimes they have promotions where you get like 10 times points or whatever. So very similar to any other loyalty program that you would have seen in the world. So that's just what it is. But I found his explanation an explanation. That's what I'm going to talk to you about. And they said, did you obtain a copy of Miss Patterson's Woolworths transaction history between the period of the 23rd of July and the 2nd of August? And he says, I did. And they said that they're going to show it to the jury. So they did. And the label, we were told of what this. So they put up on the screen, and it doesn't look like when you look in the app, it basically just looks like a spreadsheet. So they showed a spreadsheet of transactions for Erin Patterson to the jury. That's what we saw. And it's from the 23rd of the 7th, 23 to the 28th of the 7th, 23. And they say here, the first page just provides a summary of personal details of the account holder. And he says, yep, that's correct. And they say, so we've got a full name. And for some reason, it says none. But then it says Erin Patterson. So none Erin Patterson. There you go. That's a full name. And then they say it provides her date of birth. I'm not going to read out her date of birth, even though I think it is well known now. And then they say her contact details, and it says a mobile phone, 04 redacted. And he says, yes, ma'am. And then they just go down and say, got her email address. And yeah, it's got all that. And then they say here, the first column, the bulk of the column of the left-hand side has Woolworths, Lee and Gather, and then it has self checkout. And he says, "Yep." And they say there's a date there. And they say, "What is the date?" And he says, 23rd of July. So, and he confirms that as well. Yes, that is correct. 23rd of July. And the time is 13:54:55. And he says that is 1:54 p.m. in the afternoon. And they say, if you go across to the right side of this table, they say the far right column has a list of items, grocery items listed. And uh, they say the first entry for the 23rd of July, and they say, in terms of items of interest in relation to this matter, they will highlight it for us to read. And it says, we have 2 mushrooms sliced 500 grams. 500 grams. Sorry about that. Yeah, so they're talking about so she bought 2 of them, 500 grams sliced mushrooms. That's the first item of interest. Second item of interest, a 1 kilo Woolworths brand puff pastry sheet. So she bought some puff pastry. And then they have another one, Art of Pastry, frozen phyllo pastry, 375 grams. And then they got the mushrooms, the 2 sliced mushrooms for 500 grams. And then they say they have another day, 27th of July. And then they have things bought on the 27th. And they say they have a Pampers puff pastry 10-pack, 1.6 kilos. Art of Pastry frozen phyllo pastry, 375 grams. And 4 counts of beef eye fillet steak. And then 2 items of mushrooms sliced, 375 grams. So between the 23rd and then that second lot is the 27th, the lunch was on the 29th. And according to these records, she bought, what does it say? It's like 1.6 kilos of puff pastry, 375 grams of frozen phyllo pastry. That's on the 27th. And then on the 23rd, she bought a 1 kilo puff pastry sheet. And then another Art of Pastry frozen phyllo pastry, 735 grams. And then she bought on the 27th 2 packs of mushrooms, 375 grams sliced. And then on the time before that, on the 23rd, she bought 2 times 500 grams of mushrooms sliced. It's like the world's largest beef Wellington, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it tells us that she bought a lot of pastry. What is that? 1 kilo, 375 grams. What was the other one? 1.3, I'll say 1.4, 1.8, 1.6, 1.6 plus 1.8. This is a rough calculation. 1.8 plus 1.6 equals. She bought almost 2.7 kilos of random pastry. 2.7 kilos of it. Where's the beef? She did buy beef, I told you. So on the 27th one, when on the receipt for the 27th, she bought 4 4 items of beef eye fillet. And then there's another entry here for the 28th of July. So the 28th of July is a Friday, the day before. And then they say the relevant items for that date are Pampers puff pastry. And they said it was a butter version. And they said it was 3 sheets for 550 grams. An art of pastry, frozen phyllo pastry, 375 grams. Potatoes mash, 1.5 kilos. Bean round cut cleaned, which is pre-packaged, 340 grams. And then beef eye fillet steak again. And they say here, now, acting on that information that the accused had purchased mushrooms from Lee and Gather that went into the lunch meal, during your investigation, did you obtain details of who supplied or what company supplied fresh mushrooms to Woolworths, Lee and Gather? And he says, yes, he contacted the food manager for Woolworths, a man named Troy Lewis, who is based in Adelaide. And he was able to give us the name of 4 distributors who provide mushrooms to Woolworths. Only 2 of those companies actually supply to Lee and Gather. And in his evidence, he talked about how he actually talked about he and another officer actually went to these mushroom farms and they took a video camera and they videoed the entire process from how they get the soil, how they put the like the mushroom, what's it called, miculus or whatever. They put it into the soil and then they grow them. And he was explaining that within these 2 companies of commercial mushrooms, they independently didn't tell each one they were coming. Just went out there and filmed the process. So from the moment they get the soil to the moment they make the potting thing that they grow in, to them growing the actual mushroom in these giant stacks of them in the warehouse. And he was saying that they're temperature controlled. Like the entire environment is like to a very certain degree. And then he says, then they take them and slice them, package them, and send them out to Woolworths. And he said that the process at both places, even though he only visited one, Mr. Eppingstall, another officer went to the other one, that they were exactly the same. There was no difference. There was no quirk of the system. There was nothing that they could verify that might be different. The mushroom farms also told them that the way they grow it in such a controlled way, there's no chance any wild mushroom could ever grow in this environment because the environment is specifically to grow button mushrooms. It's not for anything else. And we also know that death cap mushrooms have to have an oak tree for that symbiotic relationship, and it's not possible to cultivate them in this type of commercial capacity. So that was some of the evidence we heard today. I had no idea they even did that, but yeah, they wanted to make 100% sure there was no chance it could come from the supply chain. And they videotaped the entire process of how these mushrooms are made. So interesting, very interesting. So he said there's actually 2 places in Victoria, in Melbourne. I think one was in Reservoir and one is somewhere else. I'll tell you in a minute. And they are the only 2 that supply to Lee and Gather. I think one is called Mushroom Co-op, and then one is called Costa Mushroom Exchange, and then the other one is called Costa Mushroom Exchange. What's the other one called? The Mushroom Place. So the Mushroom Place and Costa Mushroom Exchange. Yeah. Hey Kiki, how are you, my friend? Philo is a mess until you get used to working with it. It's why I buy store bought instead of making it myself these days. Too much work. Thank you. I've never even, I just eat it. I just like, oh, someone made a pie, I'll eat it. How do you make it? I got no idea. The Wendy commercial? Well, I don't think we had Wendy's in Australia, unfortunately. We have Wendy's, but it's not the one that you have. The one we have only serves hot dog and milkshake and donut. They don't make any hamburger. They don't make any French fries. It's a completely different type of Wendy's. Different type. All right. So yeah, so they say here that the other constable was Martin Alcade, and it was him and Eppingstall who ended up going out and looking at these different facilities. And he says here in his evidence that the tour essentially took Detective Senior Constable Martin Alcade through the start to the finish of the cultivation and processing of the mushroom facility. And he says, yeah, it takes it all the way from the soil being gathered and potted to growing to picking to packaging, all the way through the process. And they ask, was that tour video recorded by the detective senior constable Martin Alcade? And he says, yes, it was. And then they say, and similarly, I can't pronounce anything tonight. I'll just say, and on, there we go. 11th of September 2023. Did you yourself attend the other facility, the Mushroom Place? And he says, I did. And they say that one is in Reservoir. And they ask if he engaged in the same process as the Costa one. And he says, yep, exactly the same. Filmed it from where they go from the soil all the way through to slicing and packaging. And he says they ask him in both of those video recordings of the two mushroom facilities, was it made clear the mushrooms in those facilities are only ever cultivated, they're not grown wild? And he says, yep, that's correct. They're grown in like big pots and they're stacked high and they're in rooms that are heated. It is a very controlled environment. And they ask him, was it made clear in the evidence that death cap mushrooms cannot grow in these facilities as they cannot be cultivated? And he says that is correct. So there you go. That was some of his evidence about heading out to these mushroom facilities that supply Woolworths in Victoria. They actually supply half of Australia apparently, but it supplies a lot of places down here too. So there you go. Yeah, so we heard from the Department of Health, the City Council, and now the police, and they checked everything from everything. They checked stores, they checked Woolworths, they looked for Asian suppliers, they went to the mushroom farms looking for any rogue mushrooms that might have got into the supply chain, and they didn't find anything, nothing. They couldn't find a single example at all. So that was probably had to happen, but they just didn't really find anything. All right. Da. So one of the other things they did after speaking about the mushrooms and how they went out to these facilities after we spoke about the Woolworths receipt that we saw for her rewards card, they're asking here about bank statements, and they said, as part of your investigation, did you obtain an extract of the accused Bendigo bank records for the period of 1st of July to the 4th of August? And he says, I did. And they tendered to the court a Bendigo bank record for Erin Patterson for that time period. And they said, they just said, irrelevant information had been redacted because no one needs to look at her personal spending or whatever. But they just said here on an entry for the 4th of August 2023, and they say it indicates that is for Dasma Environmental Morwell. And Dasma Group, they are the landfill or exchange, like that. What do they call it? A rubbish exchange or recycling exchange. It's basically the place where the dehydrator went. That is what that receipt is for. The Dasma Group are the people that own all those facilities that take in hard rubbish, uh, plastic, recyclables, e-waste, all this type of thing. So that's their company. So that's what that receipt is for. And then they said that Senior Constable Crawford also identified another transaction that was at the Kunwara transfer station. That's the Dasma Group. So, and then they said we heard of it. Yeah, so they attended that transfer station on the 2nd of August 2023, and they asked, how come you attended on the 2nd of August, but the bank statement says the 4th of August is when the money was paid to Dasma Group. How is it that you went there and retrieved the dehydrator 2 days before it appeared on Erin Patterson's bank record? And he's just saying it's because, like, when you tap your card or scan your card, it is pending for a period of time and then eventually clears on your account. And he's saying it cleared on the 4th, but happened at an earlier time. So that's where that discrepancy comes from. Um, yeah, so the actual date of the transaction is the 2nd of August. And that's when that really occurred, not the 4th. So, and then they said they were able to find um, a receipt in her bank record for Sunday, the 30th of July at Caldermead uh, for the BP service station. So that's the CCTV footage we saw last week. And that's where she goes into the BP, goes up to the toilet, stays there for like 9 seconds, comes back out, peruses some of the items, buys some food, and just leaves. That is, they so they're able to find the receipt for that on her bank record too. Um, Lee says, how many defense barristers does Erin Patterson have? Okay, I can answer that. So on the bar table in this particular trial, so you have two sides, right? Prosecution and defense. The prosecution has Dr. Nanette Rogers, SC. She is the head of the prosecution. She is actually one of the highest public defenders in. I think she is the highest in Victoria. She is a senior counsel or something. She is like the highest one they have. Then under her, she has two other barristers or lawyers. I'm not sure. I would have to look it up what they are. But that is Miss Warren. So you'll often hear me say Miss Warren. Miss Warren often takes over when Nanette Rogers has something else that she has to go and do or something for the trial. She'll have to leave. So you have Nanette Rogers is the top of the prosecution. Then you have Miss Warren, and then you have Miss Lenthal. So you have three of them on the prosecution side. On Erin's defense part of the bar, you have two people. You have Colin Mandy, SC. So you hear from Colin quite a lot. He is the one who is running the defense for Erin Patterson, and you hear from him majority of the time. The majority of the time, it's him. But he does have someone helping him, and that is now I had her name just then. It's Miss Warren is on the other side. Miss Lenthal, Colin Mandy, and geez, now I'm having a mental blank. Uh, my brain, you guys can't ask me complex questions like this when I get home from court. My brain doesn't work anymore. Miss Lenthal hold on. I don't know why I can't remember right now. Hmm. I'll look it up. I'll look it up when we get to the end. I do have it in my notes, but there is another young lady who is helping Colin Mandy. Why I can't? I'm having the weirdest mental blank because I hear her name all the time. I'll look it up. It is in the yeah. So that is on the prosecution side. Dr. Nanette Rogers, SC, Miss Warren, and Miss Lenthal. Yeah, Miss Stafford, that's it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's Colin Mandy, SC is the defense. Miss Stafford is his helper, other lawyer, other barrister. We don't hear from her a ton. I've heard from her a couple of times throughout the trial, but her job, from me watching the trial, seems to be she helps find things. She helps find legal argument. She goes through the transcript and she's trying to help Colin Mandy do his job. So she'll often be sitting there scanning through like documents or a PDF file or something. Her job is to help speed up sort of any problems that come up, she sort of deals with it. So if they're like, "Oh, go to page 28, paragraph 48 of blah blah from like 5 months ago," she'll be like pulling through documents and like you can see her, she's running a pen going like this, trying to run through all the documents. She is really quick. She'll find anything in about 2 minutes. She's pretty good at it. She wheels the bags? No, I don't think that's a fair description of her. She does a lot of work, a lot of work. She's sort of like I've seen her question people too, but she's sort of yeah. That's what I've seen from watching the tables. She's sort of like a problem fixer. So anytime they have to find a document really fast or a passage or something, that she will find it for Colin, and she's like, "Colin, here, here." You see her like going, "Hey, take this quick, read this." So they all do that, and Miss Lenthal and Miss Warren do the same thing for Nanette Rogers. So, but you hear a little more from Miss Warren. Miss Warren often takes over when Nanette Rogers can't be there. So she has I think that's why is because I've never seen Colin Mandy leave to do something else, but Nanette Rogers is quite busy and she has to do things for the trial or whatever else she does. I don't know. But we often hear from Miss Warren and then Miss Lenthal sometimes questions people too. I've heard her a few times throughout the trial. All right, hold on. You see a photo of them both wearing gowns? Yeah, I just there's different designations depending on the ribbon or something, but I don't ask Ping. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the difference is. I would have to ask, but their official titles in court are Miss or Ms. MS, Miss Warren, Miss Lenthal, that type of thing. So you know. So if you want to ever address them, I think that's where you're supposed to. So yeah, there you go. That's the difference. So there's two sides of the bar that you're dealing with in this particular case. All right, let's continue. So they also detail that they found another purchase. This purchase was for the 30th of July. So that is the day after the lunch. That was a purchase for $13.10. And that is in relation to the trip to Tyab. So that is when Erin Patterson's son had a flying lesson in Tyab. That's that trip they took out there. and then the flying instructor canceled because the weather wasn't good enough. Well, apparently they stopped at a donut van at Kuriup, and they got, I can't remember what they got, hot dog or something, or some hot food and, coffee. So they stopped at this thing. The purchase was for $13.10. I think it was dim sims and something else and coffee. So that's what that receipt is in relation to. And that was for the flying lesson that ended up being cancelled. Yeah, does it tell me in my notes what they purchased? It was from a place called Outback Jack's Donut in Kuriup, and it was for the 30th of July. But does it give me, do I have the items? Did I write it down? It might be in a different day. It doesn't detail it for me here in my record for today. Oh, yeah. Wait. Oh, okay. So when she attended that BP at Caldermead, by the way, that was on the 30th of July as well. And apparently they have a receipt here for $13.10, and it states DA ham cheese tomato sandwich for $6.50. EDC wrap sweet chili chicken $4.50, and TNT multicolor blister 57 grams. And they were asking in court today, what is a TNT multicolor blister for 57 grams? They said it was gum, but I don't think it was. I think it was actually this, and the only reason I know this is because I have purchased it before, so I think it was this. At least I think so. But TNT is a brand that tends to make sour lollies or sour candy. So I'm not 100% sure that's what it was, but something like that. So they were asking. They said, I think they said it was gum. Yeah. So His Honor asked, Justice Beale, His Honor, asked, "What is a multicolored blister?" And he says, and someone replied, "I believe it's gum, Your Honor." Well, I don't think it was gum. I think it was, well, it could have been, but I mean, TNT, I don't know. TNT multicolored blister, 57 grams. Let me have a look. Can I find a gum? I can't find. Oh, here. No, that's 49 grams. We want 57 grams. See, I'll show you. I'll show you a screenshot here. I can't say it's the same thing, but when I Google these like requirements, I'll show you. It says TNT multicolor blister, 57 grams. And it comes up with that item that I'm showing you up there. Yeah, let me go over here. Yeah, let me remove this comment. Sorry. See? Oh, silly banner. Hold on. There we go. TNT multicolor blister, 57 grams. So the description matches. I don't think this is gum, but maybe they didn't quite know what this product, like, what it is, but it matches and it's the same weight, 57 grams. That's pretty specific. I looked up some others. They were like 29 grams, 87 grams, 102 grams. This one, 57 grams, and it has a similar title, TNT Multicolor Blister. So, is it the same one as they're mentioning? I don't know. I wasn't in Tyab or Caldermead when they purchased it, but there you go. Never heard the term blister I think blister describes a type of plastic. So if blister can mean I think it is anyway. Normally some people will think a blister pack is this. I've got one here. Oh, oh, I did have one here until I dropped it. Hold on. All right, here. This. So a lot of people would think that a blister pack is this, something that you pop something out of. So, but when I Googled it, it comes up with this. Yeah, so dim sum, uh, we often call yum cha. The person is right. Peanut chocolate is right. So yum cha is sort of like where you have that the carts come around and you pick certain things, and you can have like dim sims and chicken feed or whatever. Like there's dumplings or pot sticker, whatever. Um, because we use a word in Australia called a dim stim, and I think that's why we don't use dim sum, because it's such a local word down here. It would be confusing for people, so they don't tend to use it for anything down here. So that's the difference. Desitin, I don't know what that is. Yeah, Aussies are weird at naming stuff. We are a little weird. Dimmies, that's right, Mr. Mike Bell. That is correct. You are 100% correct. By the way, if you like sport, Mr. Mike, I'm wearing my jumper here. I don't know if you guys can see this new fluoro jumper. So if you can guess, there you go, San Diego. It's a Padres jumper. I really like it. It's pretty cool. All right, there we go, Mr. Sportman. Wendy R said, "There's a place that serves it this way on Sunday. I love picking out the things you want off the cart. They do it here too, but we call it yum cha. So anywhere one goes, stuff will sound weird. That is true. It is a little cozy. I wore it today because it was freezing outside in Melbourne. It was bloody rain and hail and giant dolphins and things like that. All right, let's get back to our transcript. So we heard about what they bought at the BP. That's cool. We know what the multicolor thing is. Great. All right. So they ask here, as part of your investigation, initially you became aware that the accused had told the lunch guest that she had been diagnosed with cancer. Is that right? And he says, yes, we knew that from a very early point in the investigation. And they ask, as a result of that information, did you look or take steps to obtain that information from the cancer registry? And Eppingstall replies, yes, I did. And they ask, this is Miss Warren, did you also go through the process of obtaining the accused medical records for 2023? And he says, I did. Rory, hey, stop. And they say, to perform that task, what did you commence with? What was the first step to obtain those records? And he says, we kind of did everything concurrently. We contact the cancer registry, but ultimately we had the search warrants for, he says, like we had for all of her medical appointments and things like that. So he says, the first thing we had to do was identify any medical appointments she had. So we got her her Medicare records of any Medicare transactions. And from there, we identified providers that she had attended and applied for and got warrants for those facilities for those medical records. And they say here, did you obtain the medical Medicare history for the period of the 1st of January to the 1st of January 2020 to the 8th of August 2023? And he says that is correct. They said, but you honed in on the period of 2023. And he says, yes, 2023 was where we were targeting. And they say, from that list, did you identify the accused had been to three different three different medical centers in the period between the 1st of January to 2023 to the 8th of August 2023? And he says, yes. Then they say, what were those three medical centers? And he says, it was Leongatha Health, which is affiliated with Leongatha Hospital and Currumborough Medical Clinic and Mount Waverley GP. And they said they obtained search warrants for all of the records. And yeah, let's move down here. And so he says he reviewed those records and they heard evidence from Professor Burston. So you would have heard from him a little while ago. And that there was no evidence in any of those records of any diagnosis of cancer. And he says that is correct. So there you go. They next look at a diary of Gail Patterson. Here, I want to have a look at something. Hold on. Let me get rid of that. All right. They go through this statement about Gail Patterson's diary, and they say, "What dates are you talking about?" And Miss Warren says the 24th of June to the 29th of July. Yeah, sorry, 19th of July, 19th of June until the 30th of July. Sorry, and it is 19th of the 6th, 2023 to the 30th of the 7th, 2023. And they say they obtained a copy of Gail Patterson's diary as part of the investigation. And they say if they look at the week commencing the 19th of June, there is a page on Saturday, 24th of June, and they ask him to read it out. And it says, lunch with Erin and her children. And then they say, if you go to the next one, week commencing the 26th of June, 2023, we see there's an entry on Wednesday, 28th of June, 2023. Can you read that out? And it says, Erin, St. Vincent's, arm lump. And then they say here, if we skip forward a number of weeks and we have the week commencing the 24th of July, 2023, and then they say, then we have Saturday, the 29th of July. Can you read out that entry? And it says, lunch at Erin's with Heather and Ian. And then they say on the entry on part 2, it says, Erin, St. Vincent's arm lump. And they said here, did you make inquiries as to whether or not Miss Patterson had any appointments or had attended St. Vincent's on that date, the 28th of June, 2023? And he says, yeah, there were no records in her Medicare record indicating she had an appointment at St. Vincent's. And when we contacted St. Vincent's Hospital, they had no record of it. And they say here, if we go back to the previous diary entries, oh, sorry. Yeah, they say if we go back and they're going to look at messages from Gail Patterson's mobile phone, which they got during their investigation, they say if they go to a message that is on the 28th of June, 2023, the timestamp is 29th of June, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. And the body of that message is, hi, Erin. Just wondering how you got on at your appointment today. Love, Gail and Don. And they say, obviously that is the same date that was in the diary where it said Erin was going to visit St. Vincent's Hospital to check on that lump in her arm. So that was the same day, and that was Gail and Don checking in on her, sending her a message saying, "Hey, how'd you go at the appointment? Are you okay? Like, how did that go?" That's sort of what they're asking. Like, did it go okay? Are you doing okay? They're just checking in on her. That's what they're looking at. Here. And they say here, yeah, so that was, hi, Erin. Just wondering how you got on at your appointment today. Love, Gail and Don. And then they say here, if we go to the second message from the bottom, this is a reply from Erin Patterson to Gail Patterson. And it is on the 29th of June, 2023 at 11:52 a.m. And it says, hi, Gail. Sorry, I had just taken my daughter to see a movie last night. We saw The Little Mermaid. The appointment went okay. Thanks for asking. I had a needle biopsy taken of the lump, and I'm returning for an MRI next week, and we'll know more after the results of those two things. And they said, did you find any evidence in the accused medical records of her having a needle biopsy of a lump? And Eppingstall replies, no. They said, did you find any evidence in the accused medical records of her being referred to or scheduled about having an MRI? They said, no. And they said, if we look here, please, there's a response there. The third message from the bottom from Gail to Erin, and that is on the 29th of June, 2023 at 6:26 p.m. And it reads, that's a test of patience, isn't it? Praying you'll know God's peace. We're just ready to relax after an enjoyable time with two people called Ethan and Alice. And they say, nice to have the fire warming us in this cold weather. And they say the timestamp is the next message is 6th of July 2023 at 8:15 p.m. This is from Gail to Erin, and it reads, hi Erin, how did you get on yesterday with your medical test? Love, Don and Gail. And then there is a reply from Erin to Gail at 7th of July 2023 at 6:46 p.m. And it reads, thanks for your message, Don and Gail. There's a bit to digest with everything that's come out of it all. I might talk more about it with you when I both see you in person. Love, Erin. And it says, okay, did you find in the medical records you reviewed any medical appointments for the accused on the 6th of July, 2023? And Eppingstall replies, no. They said, did you identify any medical appointments for the accused in the month of June 2023? And Eppingstall, this is his reply, says, yes, there was an appointment at Mount Waverley GP, and that was in relation to a complaint of rib soreness after a purported fall of a couple of weeks earlier. So she went to a GP because she was suffering from some pain after she basically fell and hurt herself. They said at this appointment she was referred for a chest X-ray, and that was on the 26th of June 2023. On the 27th of June, she attended again, and the records reflect that the X-ray that she had on her chest was clear. And Eppingstall replies, that is correct. Oh my god. My cats are going ballistic every night. Um, yes, sort of. GPS location is done through a satellite. So GPS comes from a satellite orbiting the Earth. Base stations are cell phone towers. That's the difference. Hope that helps. Hope that helps you. All right. Okay. They say here, so after she reattended and that chest X-ray was clear, they said in July, did you identify any medical records for the accused at all? And they said there were two appointments, one at Curran Borough Medical Center, and that was just in relation to updating a medical script, a prescription. And they said, yeah, so that there was two appointments at Curran Borough Medical Center, and that was just in relation to her getting an updated prescription. That's it. And that was on the 3rd of July and the 26th of July, 2023. All right. All right. I think is that the end of the message part? Hold on, guys. I just want to check something. Okay. Okay, all right. So Erin sent a message on the 17th of December 2022 at 10:05 p.m. And there's a Facebook message sent from Erin. And Epping Store replies, "Yes." And they said, "Can you read out the body of that message that was sent on Facebook Messenger from Erin?" And it reads, "My phone screen is broken and it wouldn't respond to any commands or anything. Everything is on my phone. All my passwords are in my password vault. I was trying to log into it on my laptop and it was sending an authorization email to my emails, which I couldn't access because I didn't have my password, which was inside my password vault." And they say the next message at 10:06 says, "Anyway, I've been Googling everything trying to get into my phone and emails, but I just couldn't. And then someone suggested that I do a hard reboot of my phone and restart it in safe mode, and it might fix the frozen screen issue, and it worked for now. But the screen is broken and might freeze again at any second now. So she says, now that I'm in, I am copying down everything I need from it. LOL." And a lady called Jenny Hay responds, "Oh, wow, stressful, Erin. Maybe you can get the screen fixed in New Zealand if they can do it quickly." So at the time, Erin was on holiday in New Zealand. And Erin responded 2 minutes later at 10:12 p.m. "Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can do it tomorrow. It makes me realize how ridiculous it is that having a broken phone makes everything so difficult. I can't get into my banking on my laptop because it sends an authorization SMS to my phone. Like, how dumb am I to make everything dependent on a single bloody device?" And then a message from Erin on the 19th of December 2022 at 5:18 p.m. reads, "I had to buy a new phone today because I couldn't get the other one fixed." And she says, "I don't know." She says, "I don't know, but setting up a new phone is incredibly stressful for me." And then another message from Erin on the 19th of December, this one at 10:58 p.m. She replies, "I got a Samsung Galaxy A23, the cheapest I could get while not being an absolute piece of shit phone. It was still $400 though." Yeah, so there you go. There's some messages surrounding Erin being on holiday in New Zealand and um having to purchase a new phone because she broke the screen on the phone that she had. So she had to go purchase a brand new Samsung Galaxy A23 while on holidays because she couldn't access any of her emails, banking, anything. So she was having a bit of a trouble. All right. All right. All right. Let's see if I have anything else here. And they said, da, 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 da. Yeah. So we heard evidence that when you and other police this is Miss Warren. When you and other police executed a search warrant on the 5th of August 2023 at Miss Patterson's home address, she was asked at the end of the search warrant to provide her mobile phone to police. And they said, that's correct. They said, we saw footage of that occurring with Detective Sergeant Luke Farrell. And he says, yes. They say, what type of phone was that? And they're asking what type of phone was handed over during that search warrant. That phone, so that was a Samsung Galaxy A23 that was handed over. And they say, and the SIM card that was in that phone was connected to a service number redacted. Is that correct? And he says, yes, that is correct. And they said, at some point, did you identify an issue with this phone and this phone number? And he says, I did. They said, can you take us through that? And he says, so this phone number, and he'll refer to it as redacted for convenience. And they say, so the phone redacted is the phone number that Miss Patterson gave me during the record of interview. We subsequently did phone checks on that. We came to realize that it had only been connected as of the 11th of July 2023, and it had been used in a tablet device up until the 3rd of August 2023, when it was placed into a phone handset that she handed over to us on the 3rd of August 2023. And they ask him, up until the 3rd of August 2023, and then it was placed into a phone handset, and then she handed it to you. And he says, I handed it to Mr. Farrell, who was doing the search warrant. And they say yes. So what they're saying is, before this time, there was a second number, a SIM card, that has never been recovered. They've never been able to find it. This is what they call phone B. So Erin handed over during this search of her home a phone that they refer to as phone B. Phone A, they've never been able to locate it. And so you heard there that this one had only been operational for like a few weeks leading up to August. Before that, it has no history. It was only activated recently. The other one has a much longer history, but they've never been able to find it, and they searched her property twice. So they searched it once in early August, which was her home in Leongatha. They then searched her home in Mount Waverley on the same day. They then went back in November, I think, to go back and search that property again to look for this particular SIM card, and they were unable to ever locate it. So that is what they're getting at here in this particular evidence. All right. Hold on. I just need to ask for something. Hold on. All right. How you guys going out there? You having fun? Do you want me to read it word for word like we had to listen to? I could do that. I could do that if I had more time, but you guys might get bored. I promise you, I'm cutting out all the stuff in between. Okay. So they said, so you obtained the call records between the 11th of July and just up until the 9th of August. Is that correct? He says that is correct. Anything to replace it? You said it was, yeah. Okay. So this is a bit of the evidence where what they showed us was this giant graph of basically it's a graph of like IMEI numbers and cell phone numbers. So what they were showing us is that for a long period of time, phone A is what we're going to call it, was in the mobile phone, and then up until like a certain point, it then changed over to this new number. So that new number became like active, and then the other one became non-active. So they go through this giant table of stuff, and it's like hundreds of records of different calls, SMS, data, and they were showing how the IMEI and the phone stayed consistent for a long period of time. Then all of a sudden, it just changes, and then it's this new phone B. And they were saying like how that sprung up around the time of July. So that's what we saw. I'm not going to go through it all because there's nothing else there for you. It's just a giant graph. I'll try to find the bit where it explains it. Yeah, so when we look at the columns and this table, the IMEI that ends with the number 9423 remains consistent through each of the pages as they go through July. And he says, yes, that's correct. And they say it doesn't change all through July. And then when we get into August, August 2, 3 still has the same IMEI number. And he says that's correct. And they said, as we go down that page, there is a row that is highlighted on the date of the 3rd of August, 2023, 5 days after the lunch on the 29th of July. At around 6:03 p.m. in the evening, they said, what happens here? And he says, what we do see happen there, we see that the IMEI has changed. So IMEI is like a phone identifier. If you don't know what this is, if you have a mobile phone, there is a code you can put in and it brings up your IMEI number. It's almost like a phone serial number. Slightly different from a MAC address, but works in a similar way to a MAC address would, but it's for mobile devices. This is what happens. So, like, if you lost your phone and you told your carrier, "Hey, I lost my phone," they can actually call up there's a uh, sort of like a controlling company in each country. They can call it up and they can actually ban it from the network because it's now stolen. And the way they do that is they block the IMEI number, not the telephone number, the IMEI number, because that means that that particular device can't connect to the cellular network anymore. So, yeah, there we go. All right. And they say here, so we see that the IMEI has changed, and he says what that indicates is that the SIM card for the redacted phone number B, has been removed from the tablet device that it was in, and it's been placed into a new device. And it's really us, you know, he said it's really up to us to identify those devices, or really easy for us to identify those devices. All we have to do is take that IMEI number, plug it into a publicly available website, and it will identify the exact device that it is. And they say, okay, and the device for the IMEI ending 2762, what device was that? And he says, it's a Samsung Galaxy A23 mobile phone. And they said, did you identify that ultimately the mobile phone that Miss Patterson had that she handed to Detective Senior Sergeant Luke Farrell on August 5th? He said, yeah, so that is phone B, as we've been referring to throughout this matter. And they say, okay, and that phone is the same phone that we have records for, which showed several factory resets occurred in early August. And he says that is correct. So there you go. Yeah. They say if we go to the last page of this table and this data, there's a row highlighted there, and it's the 5th of August at 8:07 p.m. And he says that is correct. And it says it shows the location for that phone, according to the tower that it's connecting to, is Spencer Street. So if you don't know where Spencer Street is in the city in Melbourne in Docklands. You'll find out why that's important in a second. And they say you've given evidence that you took possession of that phone and put it in a locker at your headquarters. And he says, yes, ma'am. And they say, where is the homicide squad located? His reply is 313 Spencer Street, Docklands. And they say that is for the phone number ending redacted. And he says that is correct. And they say you've given evidence that you identified that this number did not appear to be in use, or was it connected, only ever first connected on the 11th of July 2023. And he says that is correct. So yeah. And they say, did you identify another phone number that was registered to the accused? And they said, what was that phone number? And he says, it ends with redacted. And they said, did you obtain call charge records for that number? He says, yes, we did. He says it actually went back to 2019 for those call charges, so they were comprehensive. And that is the ones that that's the number they were unable to locate. They were able to get some records for it from the telecommunications place, but they were never actually able to locate that particular SIM card. So there you go. And just catching up on the chat. All right. I think everyone's all good. Just let me check one thing. How you guys going out there? You having fun? Are you falling asleep? You let me know if you're falling asleep. Cancel. Sorry, guys. I'll be back in a second. Hold on. Okay. By the way, I want to thank Sean. Thank you very much for the donation. It says like basically for lunch, but in emojis. I appreciate it, buddy. I think I put on about 2 kilos just from eating stuff Sean bought me for lunch. I think that's what's happened during the trial. I definitely have put on weight. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. How you put on weight walking more every day and then eating less? I'm not sure, but that is what has happened. All right, so yeah. All right, I want to go down here. Okay. So Miss Warren says they're just basically showing an extract of just over a month of records of the 4.5 years that the homicide squad was able to obtain of this particular number. So this is the second number. And they say, yes, that's correct. And they say, if we go across to the right-hand column, far right-hand column, as we look at the screen, we see the target IMEI number is ending in 1379. So different IMEI. And he says, yes, correct. They said, did you conduct a IMEI check in relation to that number? And he says, yes. They said, what did that check reveal? He said that check also revealed that this was a Samsung Galaxy A23 mobile phone. And they said that Samsung Galaxy A23 mobile phone, did you obtain information as to when that phone was first connected? What they call it phone A. So this is phone A. So we spoke about phone B before. That's the one that got turned on in early July, and then was more active in August and had that factory resets done to it. That's phone B. Phone A is the one where they were able to find records dating back to like 2019 on it, 4.5 years worth of cell phone records for it. But they've never been able to locate that particular device. They've been able to locate phone B. That's what Erin Patterson gave to police during that search warrant. But phone A has not been able to be located. Okay. They said, did you obtain information as to when phone A was first connected to the number ending redacted? And he says, yes, it came to be in that phone February of 2023. So this specific other number. And they say the 12th of February 2023, is that right? He says yes. And they said that there is apparent in the cold charge records from earlier in that year. Is that right? He says correct. Just like we showed in the previous example, you can see the IMEI number. And they say the records for this device, again, if we go through the process of scrolling through, he said, so they just say, what is your experience with these call charge records? What does it indicate? He says, that's just a phone call there. You can see how long it lasted in the column just to the left, that it lasted for 3 minutes, 21 seconds. And if we look over at the subscriber details, we can see that it's a phone call from Simon Patterson to Erin Patterson. So, let me just check here. Okay. I'm not going to keep going through that because it's just basically details on who she called on the other number. And I just don't think that's incredibly useful to you guys. It put me to sleep too. Um, but I will take you a little further down, and we'll try and keep going. And they say here that they enter 3 photographs into evidence, and they say here they're stills from CCTV, and they labeled them something like 3 CCTV stills of Erin Patterson's phones. And they say, now, if we're just looking at the first image, detective, could you please just explain to us where does this still come from? And he says, this still is from a CCTV footage at the Leongatha Hospital. And they said the timestamp shows it's the 31st of July 2023. And he says, correct. And they say on the Monday, and they say the timestamp is 11:46 a.m. to 11:48 a.m. I think they ended up agreeing on. And they said, "Now, have you watched that CCTV footage in full?" And he says that he has. And they say throughout the CCTV, just in relation to the accused mobile phone, what do you see? And he says, "Yeah, so we see a mobile phone that the accused is using to make calls, and it's there on the table at that point in time in a pink case." So what they showed to us was it's Erin Patterson in a hospital, and then they zoom in on her, and you can see this mobile phone that has a pink sort of wallet type cover, and that's what they're focusing in on in this particular bit of evidence. And they say, okay, now we've seen this footage at the conclusion of the search warrant when Detective Sergeant Farrell asked for Miss Patterson's phone, and he says correct. And they said, this is a still taken from that footage, and he says that's correct. So we see this other one, a still image when that search warrant happened, and she's sitting with the officer. So that was a video we watched the other day. And they say, we see in that still image that the phone's been handed over by Miss Patterson, and he says that is correct. And they say, if we zoom in on that, and they say, now we've obviously heard evidence that that is phone B, which is the phone that was handed over at that point in time. And he says that is correct. So there you go. And they say on the 2nd of November 2023, did police execute a further search warrant at the accused home address? And he says, yes, we did. And they say, was Miss Patterson home at the time? And he says, we did. And they say, in terms of that warrant, what was it? Was it to search for several items, including specifically a Samsung Galaxy A23 with the IMEI ending in 1379? Is that right? And he says, yes, we were looking for phone A. And they say phone A, the phone that we see through the bulk of July into early August, is the IMEI that is phone A. So they're looking for phone A. They say the phone that we see throughout the bulk of July into early August is a different phone that has an IMEI that ends with 783. And he says that is correct. They say, was a search for that mobile conducted by police on the date of 2nd November? He says, yes, it was. They said, was that phone located? So they're talking about phone A. He says, no, it has never been located by police. So that phone A, they even did a second search warrant on the homes. That's when they did that technology search dogs. So they brought in AFP technology search dogs to try find this mobile phone, but they never found it. So there you go. There's the evidence from Eppingstall about that. Okay. I just want to see if I've got anything else to cover with you today. Just let me double check if we've got anything else. I think that's about it, guys. A lot of it was today. The rest of it was like cross exam, which was rehashing a lot of things that we've already talked about with Eppingstall. I think they were the main points that I've summarized for you. And we after the trial is over, we can go much deeper into this. If there's points that you're very interested in, I can go a lot deeper into those particular topics or whatever. But we're so close to the end here right now. I just don't want to jeopardize anything. So, that's it. I don't know if they I don't think we've heard evidence about that or about whether there was any specific conversation with Erin for that phone. At least I don't remember anything where they specifically outright asked her for it. I just know that when they searched her property and they sat down in this video that we witnessed the other day, you see Sergeant Farrell sitting there with her, explaining all like what's happened today and what her rights are, and they want to seize her phone. She just pulls out this phone and hands it to him. So that was phone B. Phone B. So that I hope that illuminates some of this for you. A word I learned from the defense today that they like to use, that it illuminates things. So a legal word that they like to use. I hope that is somewhat interesting. It's weird. It's sort of weird when we only get one person throughout the day, and then it's split between prosecution and defense. Because of what I've noticed is the defense sort of tends to rehash things that they've already talked about. They just want to answer it a different way, or they just want to get to a certain point of that answer or something like that. It's not like new information that I think we should cover or anything. Yeah, so it was a thing for the AFP. I don't know if they'll cover that in evidence at some point. I'm not sure, but did they cover it? Hold on. I don't think they detailed it in the search warrant, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, but they were just looking for that phone A, and they just never found it. So you heard some details. So that's my summary of today. There will be one tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? I have no idea. I just hope we're inching towards the finish line at this point. Where is the finish line? I don't know. Maybe it's a mirage at this point, and I see it in the distance, and I'm like, it's in 100 meters, and then it disappears. Who knows? You never know with court cases. They they change every day. Who's messaging me at 10 o'clock at night? What? Hold on, guys. I want to find out who's messaging Ping. Okay. Whatever. All right. Let me check here. Yeah, by the way, thank you to those people that have supported the channel. All the new people, all the new subscribers, we've had a whole bunch. I really appreciate it. We seem to have got some sort of weird traction in the what kind of community is this? Hold on. I don't want to misname them because they seem like nice people. Where is some of these people? Like the graphic artist and graphic designer sort of community. I've had a lot of attention from that sort of part of the internet for some reason. I'm not sure 100% why, but if someone wants to reach out and tell me what's going on, I would appreciate it. Like we had someone yesterday recommend the channel. I tried to search for that person, but I don't know exactly who they are. Ninich, if that person wants to reach out to me, I would like to just say thank you to them in private. I would like to just, extend the thank you for recommending the channel. If they don't want to, you can take that as your thank you if you'd like. But yeah, we've had some interesting attention from that community. I'm not sure why. What did I do? Did I do some poor graphics? And they're like, look at this guy. This is why we exist, because he has such poor graphics. That's why we all have jobs, because there's people out there that do this type of thing. It's called image murder. That's what it is. Image murder. Oh, you did? Lionheart said, I found the channel just by searching for the trial on YouTube. Ah. Dragon said, someone mentioned your website in the comments of another video about Erin Patterson from the US. Ah, okay. Interesting. I'm glad that people are figuring out that I'm here because we've been here for, as you can see, 9.6 million days of the trial. But yeah, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad people are figuring it out. I really am. Because we've been here for a couple of years. This is probably the biggest project we've undertaken so far, doing such a in-person trial. We've covered other trials before, but remotely. We've never actually been at the freaking trial every day. This is the first time I've done that. So, well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I know a lot of people are, by the way, I want to cover this because we haven't talked about it in a while. The comments are off. It is a legal requirement of me to do so. It is not me just wanting to avoid criticism or I don't want your ideas or something like that. It is a legal requirement that I do so in order to be able to report on the trial. I hope you can understand that. That it's not a choice. It's something that I must do to abide by the rules and laws in Victoria, Australia. And you might be like, well, there's people in the US and the UK talking about it, and they have theories and yeah, but they don't live here. I do. I live in Victoria and I go to the Supreme Court every day, which means if they wanted to pick me up, they could, because I'm literally sitting in the Supreme Court with all these people every day, and they know who I am. Like I work with people within the Supreme Court. They know my real name and things where I live. If I did something wrong, they would know where to find me, if that makes sense. So it's very different because I am bound by the laws of the state of Victoria and wider Australia because I'm a resident. I live here, so it's just a little bit different than if you were, say, in the UK or something like that. We leave the live chat up, but I turn it off when we get out for the night. So you'll notice on the replay it's not there anymore because I allow people to have a bit of a chat and say hello. And the rules that we sort of keep is that you no theories. You can't give me any theories. If you do, I just don't bring them up, stuff like that. Like no association of guilt or innocence. That is sort of a thing we have to remain unbiased. And but when the trial is done and we have a verdict, all this goes away. All this goes away. The comments come back on. The chat stays up. You can say whatever you want. I don't restrict people's opinions. I've never done that on this channel. I don't care. I don't care if you're like, that guy sucks ass. His channel was crap. His content was awful. I'd be like, all right, that's your opinion. Like I've never had, I don't force anyone to have one opinion or another. I just let people have their say. So that'll come back, I promise. As soon as we get a verdict, that'll all come back within an hour. I'll have it all turned back on. So Woman of Steel said Ping had to go through a lot to be able to bring us this. Yeah, I had to go through a lot of different uh just just a lot of different things. Personal, with the Supreme Court, being away from home, like a lot of different things. So it's just, a lot of sacrifice went into doing the trial. Uh, we did. I don't know why it's not posting at the moment. I had a template that used to post under every video, but I don't know if it's not there anymore. I'll check into it and I'll make sure it's there. But we were posting like a legal disclaimer under every video at one point. I don't know why it's gone away. I'll check into it. It's open slather with the questioning, so yeah. I think if you don't know what's going to happen after we get a verdict, we're going to actually be doing a 10-part podcast of my experience at the trial. And so I've been keeping separate notes every day of like how I feel, what my opinion is, what I thought, what X to Y and B to T or whatever, like an alternate set of things. those will be done in that podcast, and that podcast will run for about 10 episodes, and it'll cover I think it'll cover like 2 episodes per week of the trial. That at least that's what I'm thinking right now. So that's what you'll get after the verdict. And that'll have, yeah, all my personal notes, all my sort of like feelings and opinions and stuff like that. So that's what you'll have. I know there's a lot of people, especially Australians. So Australians do know these rules. The rules is called subjudice contempt. And what does that mean? So subjudice contempt means the easiest way to explain it is you have somehow subverted or corrupted the trial or the courtroom. And it can be done in a variety of ways, but one of the ways you can do that is oh sorry about that. I was going to cough and then it went all weird. Sorry about that. One of the ways you can do that is by polluting a jury member. And you ask Ping, how could you do such a thing? Well, I could make content and I could be like, I think this person is that. And this evidence makes them look X, Y, and Z. And you should listen to me because I know true crime better than other people. And that jury member might watch and then be like, they bring up a really good point. How come no one's been talking about this at the trial? That is a way that you can, and then somehow the judge finds out, or they bring a recording in, and then they show people in the jury room. Like it is like jail time. It is jail time. You will get some sort of freaking giant fine and jail time. I know there's been other people who have been jailed for this. There have been people who have been almost bankrupted because of how much money it's cost them in a fine. There's been some very serious examples of people being taken to court for this type of thing. So you have to be very careful about what you report if you are in Australia, in Victoria, and attending the trial. So, and I don't want to break the trust that the Supreme Court has given me either. They were very kind to give me access, and I'm not owed that access that I get, and I want to repay them by following the rules that they've sort of asked me to. They haven't asked me of anything, but they have a guide that they ask the media to have a look at that helps keep you on the right side of the law, and I just want to be on the right side of that because, yeah, they didn't have to help me out. They didn't have to let me come in every day and watch the trial and be part of the media. They didn't have to do that. They could have said, you have to go fight people for a gallery seat. So they didn't do that. They allowed me to, do it the correct way, which was very nice. So I don't want to upset them. Will you have a phone in after trial? Sure, we could do a phone in show. Is that something people want to do? I can open up a telephone number and or a invite link, and you guys can come in and voice your opinions on what happened during the trial. Is that something you guys want to do? We've never done a call-in show in 700 episodes on this channel. 700 we're almost at. I think we might be over it now. We've never done a call-in show, not once. But if that's something you want to do after the trial, I'd be okay with it. But yeah, I'm glad that we're attracting people that can understand why it has to be like this. Very early on when I was at the trial in like week 1, we had some people that just really didn't get it, and it really upset me because I was like, I don't understand why you don't get it. I don't understand why you don't understand what subjudice contempt is. And I just flew off the handle, and it was a mixture of things. I was tired. I was stressed out because I was learning all this stuff on the fly, and I just absolutely went nuclear on them. I didn't mean to. I'm not normally like that. It's just, it was it was sort of like a bad day. It was like everything that had happened. There was like a lot of personal stresses as well. And then that comment just topped it off. And I just went absolutely ballistic because yeah, I may have to edit that out at some point. I don't think that's nice that I kept it in there, but you know, yeah. That was a bad day. Wendy asked, I was assuming the jurors do not get. No, you are not allowed to approach any of the jurors. It's still, even after trial, it is against the law to approach a juror. So, not allowed to. And even if they approach you, you're told not to talk to them. You're told to walk away, turn your back, and don't listen to them. So there you go. Yeah, phone in. You guys want to do a phone in? Yeah, I wish people would understand though. We lost 25 people overnight. I think because I told them to go get effed or something. I can't remember what I said. I think I told people if they didn't like it, they could go F themselves or something. It was it was a fun for like 10 minutes, and now I regret it for like 3 weeks. Hands on ears and run off, yeah. There was a lot of F-bombs. There was a lot of F-bombs. I think it was about 10 in about 2 minutes. Oh, it was pretty funny. Not funny, but you know what I mean. Wendy asks, "I'm shooting." Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll do a phone in. We'll do a phone in. What live was it? I'm not sure. I think it's in like week 1 or week 2. You'll find it. It's very early in the show. You can go see me absolutely cut someone down and ping absolutely go ballistic for about 5 minutes. Hey Elaine, how are you? We've all had bad days, yeah. Fair bump play on ping. Oh, we have. So we've done the next, what was it? 21 days or whatever. So yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. All right, I better go get ready to do this all over again tomorrow. There'll be more updates on my Twitter. Sort of trying to live tweet bits and pieces here and there. Although I got to edit a couple of things. I missed a couple of details here and there. So I'll have to do some adding on at some point. I did. It was really bad. It was not good. I'm normally a chill guy. I don't like yelling at people or anyone. It was just a bad day. I love you all. Have a great night out there. I will be back tomorrow, and I don't think anyone knows. I don't think anyone quite knows, to be honest. All I can tell you is that it was booked for 6 weeks. Next week is week 6. If we go all the way to next week, well, that would be the end of the sort of booked time. There's no booked time. It's just like they pencil it in. If they had to go to week 7 and 8, they would. It's not like they go to week 6 and they're like, "Well, trial's finished. Like you guys have run out of time." It's not really how it works. Like they can pencil in more time if they needed it. I I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there. How soon is soon? I don't know, but you'll know as soon as I know, you'll see this go up. Where is it? Is it this one? Yeah. As soon as you see this live stream go up, this one with this thumbnail, you'll know. You will know. You'll be like, "Oh my god, it's done. We're going. We're good to go." Dragon says ABC says this is the last prosecution witness, and we'll see if the defense. Yes. So the informant is normally the last person on the prosecution side. The informant tends to go last because they are the one who brought the charges and were the lead of the investigation. That doesn't mean we're going to go to jury right now. The defense has their turn. They could do whatever, call whoever. Like it's not. It's sort of like it's like half over, if you know what I mean. Like we've heard from the prosecution now. Well, we'll hear maybe from the defense now. So we'll see. Who knows? They don't tell us anything. So we'll find out. We'll find out. When I know, you'll see this. As soon as I hear the words, the jury, it is now your job to go and find the truth and figure out a verdict or decision or deliberate or whatever. you will see this go up like that, like within seconds. I've already got it all templated and ready to go. So it'll go straight up. Hey, Julie, good night, my friend. We're going to get out of here. I need to go eat my dinner. I don't know. I don't know. They've not told us anything like that. Um, I would just say that the jury members would probably come from the surrounding areas because that was the whole point of having the trial in Morwell, was that you weren't going to get people from the city. You were going to get people from the surrounding area. Who are they? Where do they come from? Don't know. It is a crime in Australia to identify a juror. And what they mean, and they told us is that identify can mean many number of things. Doesn't mean you have to say their name. Doesn't mean you have. It could be like you could say the guy with the purple mohawk, and that's enough to identify a juror, because they may be known because they work in a store in the city or the town, and people are like, oh, that's Mark. Like everyone knows Mark has a purple mohawk. Well, that's identifying a juror, and now you can be charged with a crime. So, got to be very careful with the juror things. Got to be very careful. Um, yes, that is it. That is exactly what happened. Originally, they wanted to have it in the Melbourne Supreme Court in the city in Melbourne, but Erin Patterson asked for the trial to be in Morwell at the Latrobe Valley Magistrates Court. And eventually she won that argument, and here we are today. We're in Morwell. So that's what happened. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go eat. I could talk to you about rubbish all night, which I'll do on the weekend. I'll do on the weekend, I promise. I love you all. Have a great day. What day is it? Have a great Wednesday in America. Have a great Thursday tomorrow if you're in Australia. Keep safe out there. And I'm not in the hotel right now. I'm home. But I was in a hotel in Morwell, yes, in week 1. I will see you tomorrow night around the same time. We'll get to more details. What's going to happen tomorrow? I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. By the way, thank you to those people who have supported the channel. That is very kind. If you're one of the people who have subscribed recently, thank you very much. And oh, who is this person? Hold on, guys. I got someone. No, don't do that. I just want to see who these two people are. Thanks to Pain or Chocolate for that donation that came in earlier tonight. Thanks to my friend Betty C for her donation earlier tonight. Thanks to my friend Vicky K the other day. I miss you, my friend. I hope you're doing okay out there. And Sean for tonight for buying me some lunch. I appreciate it. I'm not going to tell you what I've been eating for lunch because it is very bad. I had another double quarter pounder today. I blame Sean. I blame Sean. I do. All right. Love you all. Have a great night. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace out, everyone. Let's get out of here. Day 22 tomorrow. Day 22. Let's do it. Good night. Bye.